Welcome to a podcast unlike any other. Presented by the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame. In support of our local music scene. It's the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. Tonight's guests, Glenn Hamilton. And the Badlees. This episode is sponsored by the Inglewood. And now, your hosts, Daniel Keim and Alan McCutcheon.
Hey guys, it's another episode of the Central Pennsylvania Music Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Alan McCutcheon.
I'm Daniel Keim.
And we're sitting here with Glenn Hamilton. I would say you're probably one of the, in my opinion, a very famous local radio host here. I mean, you've been on the radio on the River 97.3, mind you, since my memory goes far back enough to remember listening to the radio.
It's before you were born. I'm sure.
almost, but no, I'm still old enough.
Okay, yeah,
I wasn't born yet.
I'm sure you weren't. I get that all the time. It's fun to hear that. I started on the River in 1992 when I was like 24. Almost 25 years old.
Okay.
I've been there ever since. They haven't seen fit to kick me out yet. So.
Thank God.
Let me show up. Yeah, I'm punctual for the most part.
And I would imagine, getting into radio when you started is a vastly different beast now.
Oh my, yeah. So I started. Well, let me start at the beginning. I started out. I wanted to be an actor. When I was a kid, that's what I wanted to do. I was a theater kid.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden, I grew up in Texas in this little tiny town, and I won like a Frisbee from the radio. Like I won a trivia question or something when I was like 11 or 12 years old.
The path has been shown.
Yeah. And I go in to pick my little prize up, and they say, "Would you like a tour of the station?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I walk around. I'm like, "Ooh, knobs. Buttons. This looks like the Millennium Falcon. This is really cool." I was like, wow. So I fell in love with radio, and when I was 14, they gave me a job. My first job, I hosted Saturday nights, 6 to midnight on the AM station, and we actually spun records, man.
What?
At 14?
14?
I can imagine putting a 14-year-old in charge of a live stream of music on the radio.
With records, and actually, I swore on my first ever broadcast. Ever.
You're like, Mom and Dad aren't here to tell me. You're like,
well,
damn.
It wasn't on purpose, man. So my boss was standing right over me to show me how to do them. We had some things on vinyl, and then we had these other carts that were sort of like 8 tracks. You've seen those. So I stuck it in there. It was like some song, I forget what it was, and I was like, "Hey, you're on 1230 KERV, and I'm sure that's what I sounded like. And I was like, here's the Commodores, 3 times a lady. Can you cuss on this podcast or not? Do you prefer not?
It depends on what word it is.
It makes sense for the story.
We'll
so
bleep
absolutely
it if we
tell
have
the story.
to.
I hit the thing, and it ate it right on the air. It ate the tape, and I went, F-bomb. And then I went, S-bomb. And I was like, my boss is just like reaching for the microphone and slamming it off. He was like, "It's okay. Just don't do it again."
He's like, "We almost all got fired right now.
That's right.
It's fine."
Oh, my God. Who let the 14-year-old on there? But I haven't sworn on the air since then, as far as I know.
Knock on wood.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I had no idea it was going to be my career. I ended up falling in love with radio, man, and I wanted to be a musician too. I play guitar, but I knew I was.
You got an album out, don't you?
Well, 20 something years ago. I did an album.
So I don't have an album out.
I wanted to play guitar, and I realized I wasn't good enough to do that to make a living. So I figured if I can't play music for a living, I would play music for a living. I play other people's music for a living. So I fell in love with radio because I love communicating and using the acting skills, but I love music so much. And to get to be around it and still get, paid mediocre for it. I mean, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I don't want to compare us to you, but I feel like we definitely relate.
We relate.
We relate. Like, it's the weirdest thing.
We could hang. Right?
Yeah,
we
exactly.
understand where you're coming from on that.
Yeah.
Every rock star wants to be a DJ, and every DJ wants to be a rock star.
Isn't it crazy how the world works?
It really is.
The grass is always greener on the other side. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's crazy. I'm telling you right now, if I was 14 in high school, And it's like, oh yeah, like what did you do? Oh, I stocked the shelves at Kmart or whatever. And it's like, oh, what did you do? Like, I went to my shift at McDonald's. It's like, what did you do? Bro, I spun the records on the radio. Like, dude, you will hands down be the coolest dude in school.
I was
for
the
sure.
biggest nerd, but I did have friends and chicks would come hang out at the radio station on Saturday night because nobody was there.
Oh, that's
My dad
awesome.
would like drop me off at the station at like 5:30, and he'd come pick me up at like midnight. But between then, there was nobody there.
Dad's dropping you off like,
Just me.
what are those 3 girls doing there? And you're like, you're getting out of the car. You're like, Dad, don't worry about it. You shut the door. Like,
It's the cleaning crew. Don't worry.
the cleaning crew. It's the most
No, trust me,
attractive
though.
cleaning crew I've ever seen in my life.
I was a huge nerd, dude. There was a total dork. It
You're
was,
talking nerd to nerd
Yeah,
right,
right-
now.
right
so
on.
we're good. I can talk
Right on.
nerd stuff all day long.
So-
but we'll
what
save
a-
that for off air.
And don't get me wrong, I worked at Hardee's and friggin', Winn-Dixie, and I had all kinds of jobs when I was growing up.
So when you were 14 being a DJ,
Yeah.
what kind of music did you play? Because if I was 14 and was a
Well.
DJ, I would probably just have like Panic at the Disco on repeat or something.
Well, they weren't out yet.
That's the weirdest thing.
I think Brendan Urie was just born.
But see, I also learned how important it was to follow a format because, you get the idea of, bringing in your own music and playing whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
But radio is a business, so I learned how to follow a format. It was not the kind of music I wanted to play at the time. It was like the Commodores and England Dan and John Ford Coley and, all these, very middle of the road kind of songs. I guess the most rockin' stuff we played was like the Eagles or something like that back
I do love
then.
the Eagles,
Who
though.
doesn't?
The Eagles
Who
are
doesn't?
good. Yeah.
So I would look at that as like, that's my rock. I'm playing some rock on the air,
You're like, oh, I hope you guys are ready to get a little crazy. I'm going to put the Eagles
Take it
on.
easy.
Take it easy.
But I mean, I learned that to be, if you're a good jock, if you're a good radio jock, you can work any format. It doesn't matter what the music is. So I've worked country, I've worked, adult contemporary, top 40, but I landed at the River, and it's so I got into the rock thing in like 92, and that's where I've been ever since. But you got to be able to do anything and work any kind of format. Just kind of like if you're a musician, a working musician,
Yeah.
not in a band because that's a whole different thing. But if you're just a musician, you got to be able to be versatile and play whatever if you want to work.
That's true.
Yeah.
You got to make yourself. You got to make demand for yourself.
Sure.
You have to make you have to make yourself marketable.
Yeah, I think so.
And with that being said, I mean, what would you say is like the biggest challenge? That's a 2-part question.
Okay.
What's the biggest challenge that I would say you face as like a radio jock now? And then also, what's the biggest difference between being a radio jock when you started in 92 to now?
Wow. Yeah, that's how much time?
Oh, we got time. Don't worry.
So radio really was the original social media, if you think about it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's where everybody gathered around, and you hear voices from different parts of the community. People get on the air, make requests, say whatever's on their mind, and you got to know the hosts. A lot of DJs were my heroes growing up. But everybody is all over through the years have thought, oh, this is going to kill radio. First of all, TV is going to kill radio.
I have actively heard that like at times
Right.
in my life, like,
Yeah.
oh, this is going to put
Radio's
radio out of
dead.
business. Yep.
Radio's dead. Cable TV is going to kill radio. And then MTV is going to kill radio. What was the song you mentioned right before?
Video killed the radio star.
The Buggles?
Yes, yes.
Hi, we're still here. Who's not playing videos anymore? MTV. And then the iPod was going to kill radio, and streaming service Spotify is going to kill radio. Satellite is going to kill radio.
Sirius XM. Yep.
Yeah, even though it's a form of radio, it's still, But the thing is, with especially like the streaming services and stuff like that, because I use them too. I use iHeart and Apple Music and stuff. I look at the streaming music services like your record collection. Like when I was a kid, I'd get mad at my parents or whatever, and I'd go in my bedroom and I'd put my headphones on and put on a record and just escape. And I'm listening to my tunes and I'm in my own world. But then when I want to reconnect with the world and see what's going on out there, and I need some companionship or whatever, and tune in, feel like I'm not missing something, I would go to the radio. Because it's just a totally different listening experience.
I mean,
because radio is not a personal playlist. I mean, we do take requests.
Sure.
And radio always has, but radio has always played whatever is the most popular stuff.
Yeah.
But we do still like to play requests, but it's not a personal playlist like your curated your own Spotify or iHeart playlist.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's I'm right there with it. When you said like Apple Music is like that's kind of like my virtual like record collection. It's like that's kind of where I was. Like I still have I have one friend specifically. If he listens to this, he's gonna know that I'm talking about him. He has a vast CD collection and cassette collection and everything. And he's the same age. He's actually younger than me. But like that's something tangible that he likes. But for me, on a personal note, I'm like, I can literally just go into Apple Music and I can go add to library, and I'm
any song.
I'm like, and I already pay a monthly subscription for that, so like it's there, and I can even download it to my device, so I have it when I don't even have service. So like, there's no point in me doing that and taking up space. I put it right there on my phone.
Right.
So and I love that convenience of those apps and everything. But you're absolutely right. When I do put my playlist on, or I even just let my thing just auto like assume like what should play next and everything, there's no personality to it. It's just one song that leads into a next. Now don't get me wrong, I don't want to hear ads either. So I'm happy that no one's interrupting me there. But yeah, there's no personality to it. There's no depth.
Yeah, and I think that's the big change. I would say, because people used to go to the radio for music and they still do go to radio to discover music.
Absolutely.
But I would say that's like the common thread. That's like where we meet up. But then everybody has their own personal experience with radio. It has to be about way more than just the music, because like you said, I can get any song anywhere, anytime I want. Yeah. So it's not, there's almost also like a relationship. There's a relationship we have with our listeners too. They trust us to know that we're going to play the kind of stuff they want. We're going to talk about the stuff they want. We're going to have a chance to win stuff. We do still give concert tickets and cash and all kinds of stuff away. Too.
Yeah. I have called in a couple times. I would just like turn on the car and I'd get in there and I'd be like, like if you call in like the next 5 minutes, it's like you could be the chance to win like $10,000. And I was like, or I think that's too much. I think it was $1,000.
$1,000. Hey,
you win $1,000, and I was like,
I was like,
and they're like, but the funny thing is, and I know you guys do this on purpose. You can admit it. They're like, just call in at like 566, and I'm like, oh God, and I'm trying to get it, but like I'm driving, and I'm like, call, and it's like busy. I'm like, call, busy, and I never win, but it is. But I mean, what did it do? It got me engaged. I was like, oh, and then I would look forward to that because I'm like, oh, I'm leaving at the same time, like roughly the same time every day.
Sure. And
they're doing that roughly, so I have a chance at least every day that I'm going to work.
Yeah.
So
and we're also the difference between what you get from us and like XM or the streaming services is we're talking about national stuff, but we talk about stuff going on right here. Sirius XM isn't talking about the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame and the awards coming up at Hershey Theater.
Not yet,
get your tickets.
Not yet.
Not yet. But you know what I mean.
No, absolutely.
Well, that's what I want to say. The local radio stations help out with the local community a lot, where you'll have live performances on the radio.
Sure.
You'll play local artists, and that's something that you're not going to get that exact same thing through something like you said, a streaming service or Sirius XM.
Right.
And it's so cool to see that you guys have progressed over the years from being, radio was it. There was no TV, there was no streaming services, and radio's remained relevant this whole time. And you're saying that you outlived everything, and you're not going away anytime soon because people see that and they respect it. And I love that.
We're like the cockroach of your dashboard.
But I mean, at the same time, though, not even take it like to a negative spin, though, like, because I don't want to take it negative or make it depressed, but like let's say everything would, like, let's say, I don't know, an EMP happens somewhere or whatever. If that radio equipment is safe, the TV's not going to work. Cell phones aren't going to work.
That's right.
Nothing else is going to work. But radio waves, they will work. So what are people going to, and what are some of the things that people have in their emergency kits? Radios, like crank powered radios. You guys are going to be the ones that you guys, it sounds terrible, but like, I don't want to call you guys the cockroach, but you guys kind of are. It's like, as long as we get like the simple equipment up, we're in business. We can broadcast to everywhere.
When the zombies take over, we'll be able to tell you exactly where to go.
You guys better have that studio locked down pretty good, because after the nuclear fallout, I'm going to need some Eagles to get me through. It's going to be a real bummer.
And $1,000. Well, we might be out of cash by then.
1,000 bullets.
You guys, no, just give me the big check. Just give me that real big check that they have in the picture.
It doesn't even have to mean anything. I just want to hold it.
It just feels good.
And I might need to use it as like a roof, because mine's gone. But
That's
anyways.
right. I'll use it for housing.
But no, I mean it's true. Like you guys have, like you were saying, they've persevered. Like you guys have been able to adapt to every obstacle that was like, we're gonna kill radio. We're gonna kill radio. I mean, and you were just telling us, we were talking off air. I mean, what was the one thing that consumers said if like they would not buy a new car if they didn't have what?
If they didn't have FM AM radio in it. Because it's free.
And you would never think that. You would think, I guarantee you, just off the cuff, if you went up to someone on the street, like, what's the one thing you wouldn't buy a new car with now? They'd be like, I wouldn't buy a new car without Apple CarPlay. Like, and it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Like, so, and that, because that's something I probably would have said, but the fact
That's
that
probably number 2.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Because I want Apple CarPlay
I mean,
too.
Trust me, don't get me wrong. There's definitely been times where, like, I mean, for the most part, yeah, I use my phone for music, but the phone dies once in a while.
Sure.
I can't drive without music.
Yeah,
I'd rather
I can't drive in
walk.
silence.
Right. And then I'll put it this way too, because for the local information as well. And I know we all have apps on our phones now and weather, but when you're going across like the bridge on 83, and if the sky is turning green, and you don't know what the hell's going on, you kind of get that eerie feeling like if you're home, you turn the TV on to see if something's. If you're in the car, you're like, is there a tornado? What's going on here?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
You get
100%
that
correct.
feeling that you just got to plug in and find out what the heck's going on, So we're still there for that. And I would say the one thing that iHeart did that was so forward thinking 10 years ago was when they created the iHeartRadio app.
Yeah.
First company to do that, because they knew that by now we were going to be living in people's dashboards differently than just AM FM radio. So not only do we have AM FM radio, we're also in the dash, So they thought about that like 10 years ago.
And that's brilliant.
And it's also the number 1 podcast. You guys are on iHeart.
We're on iHeartRadio, both this and Darker with Daniel.
Yeah.
It's
Shout
a
out.
great service. And actually, I think that was one of our, not surprisingly, but one of our largest streaming platforms.
Sure.
Whenever we pulled the statistics between Spotify, Apple Music, and everything, iHeartRadio was way up there, and
That's
they have
number
such a
1.
big reach too. We were getting people. We had people in different countries using the iHeartRadio app, I believe, and it was
Worldwide.
wild.
Yeah.
It really is. So they, adapting is absolutely, radio has always found a way to adapt and survive. And I think the local aspect is truly what separates us from Sirius XM and some of the streaming music.
Sure.
services
I think
and
so.
stuff.
I did want to ask, so how did you get involved with the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame?
Well, I knew Brandon, and we actually for the award ceremony, I was like, when they had it at Whitaker Center, we're very close with the Badlees. The River's always been a very big supporter of the Badlees. And when the year that they were getting inducted, we wanted to be involved with that as much as possible. So, asked Brandon if we could do some kind of a red carpet thing. And so he let us. That was when it was at Whitaker. And so we set up in the lobby out there. We interviewed the guys, and it was just. How can you not want to be a part of that? It's incredible what Brandon and the board have done in such
really
a
is.
short period of time.
They just sold out the entire first floor of the Hershey Theater.
Yeah, this is the balcony's left as of right now.
right
this
now.
recording.
I was looking at that earlier. It's crazy. I mean, that's at least 1,200 people.
It is the music event for Central PA.
Yes.
I mean, everybody wants to be there now, because I'll be honest with you, the first year I kept hearing from people, what is this? There's everybody's skeptical today about everything. It seems like, which is, we're just all cynical now. And everybody's like, what is this? Who's this Brandon guy? 1 year, 1 award show, and all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, this is legit. Oh, the Sharks are in there. Oh, Shay's in there. Oh, Poison's in there. Oh, this is legit.
This is
other
legitimate.
people in the community started getting on board and seeing, okay, this is really legitimate. And what they have done, what the CPMAs and the Hall of Fame have done for the Central PA music scene, local music scene, nothing. I haven't seen anything like this in 30 years probably, because there was just this dormant period. I'm not saying there weren't things going on.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of bands and stuff happening, and music still being made and created and out there. But this seems to be the one thing that unifies everybody. It's like a connecting point for everybody. It's like the hub for the local music scene, and it also helps to preserve the history that Central Pennsylvania has, because it's such an incredible area for talent.
It's known throughout
for
the entire
years.
the music industry as a whole, has acknowledged and recognized that they don't know what it is about our area, but just raw talent wise across any genre, like there is something specific about our area, Central PA, that talent just comes from this area.
There's something in the
Truly.
water. It might be. It might be from 3 Mile Island. We don't know.
We don't know.
That's what we're gonna find out. But
It's in that Susquehanna River, I tell you, it's a mile wide and a foot
we were
deep.
all baptized in it at one point. All right. So,
The more you swim in it, the more talent you have.
exactly, and it's really cool. And I hope to see in the future more artists, go out there and make it big, because at the end of the day, making it big is a broad statement. I feel like some people want to make it big, not just for the money, the fame, the cars, all that stuff. Some people just want their music heard. Some people,
yeah.
like Stephen Courtney, they want to put out a good message. They want to help people, and some people just want to have their music out there and enjoyed by others, and that's amazing.
Absolutely.
That's okay. That's great. I encourage it, and I love that we have this opportunity now to help support this community and get these people out there to just do what they want to do in life and be happy and
get some
thrive.
recognition. Let's
Exactly,
face it.
right?
We don't create music to only sit in our basement and have it just for us.
Exactly.
that's
Yeah,
exactly right.
exactly.
Even if you're doing that, you still have the dream of having as many people hear it as possible.
Exactly.
I don't think there has ever been a musician that has ever existed that has created a song or created music
Yeah.
and has not felt good by someone else going, "Oh, dude, that's awesome."
dude,
like, "Oh,
that's
dude, that's like that's amazing." And it's
Yeah.
like they're like, "Oh, that's it. You think it's good? I'm quitting." I don't really know if that's maybe it has, but I highly doubt that any musician would be like, "Oh, you think my music's good? Well, I'm out."
Right.
I don't want to do this anymore. Obviously, the wrong calling.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't compute. But you're right. Like, people want to succeed in whatever their version of it is when it comes to musicians or just music in general. And then you're the next vessel because you're the ones that have the capability and the equipment to blast that out to everyone. And like you're like the next. Dude, I'm telling you, man, like I always thought like I had like a good understanding of music and I had a good appreciation for music and the culture and the scene and everything. But like I'm telling you, and this goes out to everyone, like being part of this and like being able to sit down with people like you and everything. It's really opening, it's broadening my lenses. Like it's my scope of vision. I'm just like, it is crazy that you can just appreciate every single small detail, whether it comes down to the artists, whether it comes down to the producers, whether it comes down to the radio hosts, whether it comes down to people like Brandon, people like us. We're last. It's fine. We're just a podcast, guys. Just a podcast. But like every part of it, it's all integral, and it's such a bigger picture. And it's like sitting down with people like you. It's like you get to really appreciate the pivotal part that it plays in the machine that is music.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
And the whole business model has changed in music. That's a whole other podcast series.
We'll bring you back on with the Badlees. We can talk about that.
Okay, that's great. Yeah, absolutely. But we, all we want to do is just try to help get the word out about the Central Pennsylvania Music Hall of Fame. We do have something kind of in the works right now. I was talking to Brandon about, but it's really in the early stages. But we just want to do whatever we can to get the word out. And be a part of the community. Like I said, I really believe that's what sets us apart. We do have some events that we do throughout the year for like charities and things like local charities.
Yeah.
Like we have I don't know if you've heard of our 0.5K. We do that in the fall.
I've heard it in like just like.
It's just a stupid radio thing. It's literally a half of a K. It's a 0.5K. You get a beer at the starting line, you get a donut halfway through, and then you get a sticker at the end to brag that you won. And we do it at where the Senators play on City Island.
That's amazing. That's a marathon I will do.
See?
My girlfriend's
and it
friends
goes
keep
to
trying to talk us into doing one. I didn't know this one existed. I would do that.
Well,
I will do that.
The training is awesome. You could start training for it now, actually.
I've been training this entire episode.
I was gonna say maybe I have been.
You just don't even know. Do you want to see me train again?
Yes, train.
Doing it.
I think what you have in there.
I'm sorry. I meant sitting down.
What you
It's a
have
half
in there,
K.
I think that's.
It's a half K.
I think that there you go.
I'm
with
my
the
own
beer.
boss.
And all the money goes to Harrisburg River Rescue. So,
That's
great
awesome.
local charity.
I actually know a guy that's part of that.
It's
so.
good to help out the community, and that's what we're all about here.
Yeah,
man.
exactly.
It's so cool to see, like, our community coming together, and it's been coming together for a very long time. And not that we ever fell apart, but I feel like there's just in the past few years been this huge push to bring this community together more.
Agreed.
It
And
really
thank you
has.
guys for doing what you're doing.
Thank you for what
This
you're
is
doing.
really
Yeah,
cool.
Thank you. Yeah, we love what we do. I mean, really, at the end of the day, just seriously, just getting to sit down with people like you, that's what makes all of this worth it. And I hope like anyone that's seeing this, and if you want to be on this and everything, we have the information that we'll be putting out there. You'll know how to get a hold of us. I'm telling you, we're going to have the exact same experience with you guys as well. But like just the experience of being able to sit down with people. Like I said, I listened to you when I was a child, and I get to have you on my show now. It's crazy.
It's an honor to be here,
it's
man.
Crazy.
It's
like,
super cool.
Seriously, it is cool. I mean, I remember every 4th of July cookout, your radio station's playing, and
That's awesome.
hearing your voice. It's so cool.
Thanks, man.
Of
I'm definitely a little taller on the radio than I am on the video, but that's all right. I get that all the
I thought
time.
you were going to be blonde.
Well, I mean, one final question for you.
Yeah.
Where do you see radio going in like the next 50 years? Like, how do you, with the rate the technology is, progressing and everything, how do you, Glenn, how do you see radio staying relevant and everything, like, and keeping up with the competition?
The only way that we can stay relevant is to do what we do best, and that is be local, and involved in the community.
Absolutely,
because that is what sets us apart.
I couldn't disagree. I mean, I couldn't agree more. Actually, you have that personal connection and everything. It's like, oh.
Yeah,
You
I
want
mean,
to
my
happen to
daughter is involved in theater, and she was involved in softball. I know people. I know everybody. It's like I'm your neighbor.
Yeah.
When you wake up, it's the guy from.
You're
the
my
softball
radio,
field.
Mr. Rogers.
I wouldn't go that far.
All right. Maybe not Mr. Rogers.
We're bringing
but
you a
still.
cardigan to the CPMAs, though. So. Oh man! Well, thank you for coming on here tonight.
Yeah, it's
Seriously,
been a blast, man.
oh my God, it's been such a good time.
I truly look forward to seeing you at the CPMAs. I look
did be
forward to
there.
seeing everyone that we've had on the show and really getting to like connect and it's like, oh hey man, like I guarantee you when we see each other at the CPMAs, there's gonna be something about tonight that we're gonna talk about and we're gonna start laughing about.
Dude, probably something that we couldn't talk about.
Yeah, probably that wasn't on camera.
That's how
But
it always
sorry
works.
guys, maybe you'll see it in a blooper reel. Who knows?
Yeah,
Maybe.
exactly. Well, thank you so much. We're looking forward to seeing you again soon. Is there anything else you want to shout out or tag or anything real quick, or just?
Not really. I'm on the radio every morning, 5 to 10. Ungodly hours, but
I'm right there with you, man.
it's a lot of fun, man.
I'm gonna call in tomorrow on my way to work the whole
Yeah.
way until you answer. So.
All right, give me a call. You can also, we're on all the socials and text us in. You can listen on our iHeartRadio app because you can listen anywhere. Just pull up through. Tell your smart device, hey, play the River 97.3 on iHeartRadio. I just turned on everybody's Alexa. So.
Yeah, you
sorry, not sorry.
Yes. That's awesome. But we are going to call in tomorrow until he's like, oh, it's Danny. Oh, it's Alan. And we're like, hey.
You won $1,000. Psych.
Oh, dude, I'm like, we're going to buy so much
What?
for the podcast. It was a pleasure having you, man.
Yeah, it's great
you
to
so
be
much.
here. Thanks and good luck for everything you guys got going on.
Thank you
man.
very
We
much.
really
Sure.
appreciate that. Thank you.
Hey, we're here with the Badlees at Fort Hunter Park. Guys, really excited to have you on the show. Thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Anytime. Thanks for having us.
Of course. You guys want to go down the line real quick, just kind of introduce yourselves and let everybody know who you are?
Sure. I'm Pete. I sing songs. I'm the singer.
I'm Paul. I play the bass.
I'm Brett, and I play the guitars. Not all of them, but one of them.
So, the Badlees, you guys are a pretty big name here in the central Pennsylvania music area. You started out in the 90s, correct?
Correct. We started playing music together, kind of morphed into a band in 1990 was when we all started playing music together.
1990.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So, it's been some time. And you guys are all the original members still, correct?
Correct, yeah.
Yeah, great. That's awesome. So, man, I've talked to a lot of people in the area. It seems like you guys really had something special where you really engaged the audience, and you built a lot of like true fans that have stuck with you all these years later. How do you think you guys achieved that? What do you think you did, special? What did you do right to achieve that?
Look, so much of it is timing. Could we have done what we did now? And I don't know if the answer is yes, right? So our goal was always to be, a really good live band because that was something that we could control. You couldn't control whether you got a record deal or got your songs on the radio. It's like, but if you were a great live band, you could go out there and you could do your thing. You can cultivate a following. And so, at the time, there were not necessarily all these independent, clubs that you could go and play original music. It didn't exist. So we were doing our thing in the confines of like a cover scene. And so we had to give people a reason to pay attention to us. And so that kind of morphed into a lot of different versions of what we did. And so finally, I think we got to the point where people started to come out, not necessarily for what was the spectacle of the show, but to hear the songs.
Okay.
You know, and that's a credit to Brett's evolution as a songwriter. And like, you know, the songs kind of took on a life of their own. And then it was like the show could become in support of that instead of the show was to get your attention, to pay attention to the songs.
I got you. Now, and you said Brett does a lot of the songs. Brett, you do a lot of the songwriting, right? So what do you think that you did differently to really draw people in with your songwriting?
It was a pretty linear progression.
Yeah.
You know, just reps, honestly. I mean, from early on, I mean, I listened to like the early stuff and kind of the ideas there from the beginning. And, you know, and we were fortunate because sometimes that chemistry never comes together for bands, you know, like they're always like a guy short or, you know what I mean, or just whatever might be the one little element they don't have. You know, we were fortunate because, you know, I mean, just like the live presentation worked with the songwriting. And for me, it was just, you know, make a record, write a new record, make another record. You know, it was very linear, sort of workmanlike, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. You used the word chemistry there. So, I mean, how did this band form? How did you guys pick your members? Did you guys all grow up together? Like, how did this all happen?
It's kind of a happy accident. We were, I was going to Susquehanna University. Brett was the head engineer at a place called Susquehanna Sound. Jeff's band, Badlees White, was doing a record with Brett producing. Paul was friendly with everybody and kind of hanging out. Did you play on that first Badlees White record?
An intern.
I was an intern for Brett
Oh, right on.
at the studio, yeah.
Wow.
So we all kind of like met in that space and kind of decided to start loosely playing music together. Like I had become they kind of took me on as the singer in Badlees White, and things kind of morphed from there. Our bass player was leaving. We called Paul up, who was in New York at the time, and said, look, do you want to come out here and play bass and try to do this thing? And you know, that's when I think the unit really kind of started to move forward, because it was like we had people that were all like-minded doing the thing, and we all were just like, you know, failure was not an option. We were just trying to figure out, you know, as a door closed, we would just figure out a different door to try to knock down, you know.
So you guys all had the same goal in mind, basically, where you all knew you wanted to do music as a career.
Yeah, and you know, it wasn't necessarily, the intent was there, right? We didn't know what the path was going to be, I don't think, all the time, because, you know, but the intent never changed. And so as the landscape of the music industry continually changes, we were trying to figure out a way, okay, well, how about if we try to get there this way? You know, and I think it was our tenacity that got us to where we got to, because we weren't waiting around for a special record deal to like save our lives. We were making records, as Brett said, we were touring, and we were just trying to be a great live band, and then sell records on our own. And I think that's what got us noticed. It wasn't somebody heard our songs or somebody was just like, you know, we weren't in Austin, you know, you're not in Seattle. It wasn't like that. There was that sort of scene and people were picking from the scene. It was like, we just made enough noise independently that somebody paid attention.
Yeah, that's great. Now, being a band for 33 years now and counting, what are some of the things that you've seen that changed over the years that you really like for the music community? I think that'd be a good question for all three of you if you all have your own answer.
Brett and I talk about this kind of stuff all the time, like when we're working with bands. We kind of did talk about all the things that have changed in terms of like how songs get out there and what people do with that material. And it used to be like more cultural, where like when we grew up, you know, you collected records and you had friends based on your records, and now it's kind of like the 60s, where people are just making mixtapes and that kind of thing and just enjoying everything. I mean, the good news is that anybody who is good can make something. It's not like there's a huge price of entry.
Yeah.
I mean, anybody can make music. And that's a problem, because there's 12,000 songs a day uploaded to Spotify, I think, is the last week or something. So that's a problem. You know, there's no like filter system.
Yeah, it really floods
like
the
we
industry.
were our own filter system, like Pete said, like that, or like the craftsmanship, songwriting craftsmanship, band craftsmanship, trying to do all the things to kind of make your thing solid, you know? So Brett and I would always like tell bands like, you know, you have that, like nobody can take that away from you, which is really, that's the best thing. I mean, unless you sign a record deal, then then they'll take your merch and your show money and everything now because there's nothing else to take.
Right.
I mean, it's just the delivery and the culture. Obviously, people come to see music. People love music. So it's not a lack of liking the art form. It's just really changed a lot. So
Yeah.
which is fine.
Yeah, I mean, things change over time, especially with the progression of technology these days. I mean, we're bound to see it some way or another. I think that we kind of hit almost like a little bit of a stagnant period there for a little while, and not to bring up COVID or anything like that, but I feel like after live music stopped for a little while, as soon as it came back, it kind of slingshotted it a little bit. People have a lot of ambition to get out there now, which is great. I love that for the community. So where are you guys originally from? You're from Harrisburg, correct? Or
God, all over the place.
Yeah, all over.
I was
Brett
from generally Harrisburg. Jeff's from Harrisburg.
Gotcha.
Ronnie was from Hazleton. Pete's from New Jersey.
Okay.
Brett's up toward New York State.
Gotcha. What were some of your favorite venues to play when you first got started?
Fuzzy Bunny.
Yeah, the Fuzzy
The Fuzzy
Bunny.
Bunny. There was a place called the Fuzzy Bunny out in the country. It was a blast. It was kind of just good old school 70s rock club, and they had a curtain that you couldn't even go into where the band was until you're about to start, and this curtain opens up and everybody comes in, and the bikers and hippies and everybody was there. You know what I mean? So it was a great place. I loved it. I mean, locally that was a great place. Down here in Harrisburg, I mean, there was the Metron, the Lifties. Where else? There were two big ones we played a lot.
Yeah, I mean, they changed so much. It was they're our favorite for different reasons. It's I remember playing, some of the clubs that we saw, some concerts like the TLA in Philly, right?
Yeah.
When we finally got to play the TLA, it was
That's awesome.
It felt awesome, but it was not necessarily I don't know, I wouldn't put that in our favorite clubs. It wasn't our favorite experience.
Yeah.
But nights like the Fuzzy Bunny or doing our thing at Jitterbugs up in Wilkes-Barre, those nights kind of honed and informed the band that we became, because you look at reading Bruce Springsteen's book, it's that band became so good at what they did by just playing and grinding it out in the clubs, and it was we kind of took that mentality of that workmanship, like Brett mentioned, and we just got really good, so we could throw ourselves into any situation and survive.
Yeah.
That was the goal.
So it seems like you kind of measured your achievements, not basically off the face value of it, but how you felt as a band. Correct?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I think the one thing, your prior question kind of ties into what you guys are talking about there. It's kind of like I don't know how a young band now creates a connection with a fan or an audience member just via the internet, in any lasting way. I don't know how that happens. I'm not familiar with that. You know what I mean? So us, I mean, it's kind of we've played huge clubs and theaters and even arena shows. But the really thing that 33 years later we can get on the stage is because of playing those little clubs, where we walked off the front of the stage instead of the back of it, went out and hung out with everybody. And those are the those are a lot of the people that are still there. I mean, the guy that saw us sitting in the back of an arena, just kind of seeing a show that you're opening for, and that's how that's one thing that's changed over time is, the technology is great, but 12,000 songs a week or a day, and you're just in this enormous sea of things. It's real hard to make a connection with an audience member that'll last over time.
Yeah. What would you say is the best way to do that, in your opinion?
One-on-one.
One-on-one?
Boots on the ground.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's, I mean, for us, and obviously we're older, but that's the way to make it last if that's what your interest is.
Yeah. That's great.
Yeah.
What would you say is your fondest memory over the 33 years of being a band? It's a tough one, I know. Take your time.
Seriously, it's 33 years. There's a lot of memories. I don't know. One of my favorite memories of all time is we had just gotten our record deal, and we were doing this thing out in Laguna Beach. We were it was A&M showcase, and I remember we were just we got up and we and we killed it. It was it was awesome. It just felt great. It was the morning. I don't know how we sang the way we sang, but it was it felt like we got to where we were trying to go. And I remember stepping off the side of the stage and seeing Janet Jackson there. And in my mind, I'm just amazing, right? Janet Jackson's just saw us play, and I remember walking over and I was like, "Hey, I'm Pete," and she's like, "Thanks so much for helping set my stuff up." I was like, "Woo!" It like put everything into perspective. You know what I mean? It's like,
Oh my God, that is a good one.
Yeah,
Wow.
good times.
Oh my gosh. Any of you guys have anything you want to add to that, or that's a tough one to top there?
I mean, that was Miss Jackson, by the way.
Yeah,
I mean,
Miss
it was-
Jackson. So I guess we've talked a lot about what you've done over the last years and everything. Let's talk about the future. You have a new album coming out, correct? Or did it just come out?
Just released it at like Christmas time.
Just Christmas. Okay, gotcha. Okay,
A few months old.
2 months ago, or a few months ago. Yeah, gotcha. So that's awesome. So tell us about the album a little bit. What can anybody who hasn't listened to it yet expect from it?
I think it's going to be pretty true to form, this one, because we had to do it pretty quickly, and we decided to do it, on short notice, and then we had to kind of put the whole thing together in a very, very short amount of time. So there wasn't a lot of time to like reinvent anything, whether we wanted to or not. So it's pretty much in the vein of what we've been doing over time,
Very
maybe updated
raw.
a little bit. So
Yeah.
this is kind of using the right hand that God gave you. You know what I mean? the kind of record, and we'll stretch out from there.
That's great. That's great. Wow. And Brandon had told me previously, did you guys record an album like remotely or something like that? Or was that this album? Or
Yeah.
That was this album.
Yeah.
Wow. That's
Yeah,
awesome.
like passing it around. Yeah.
This is great. So do you all produce your own music, or you record your own music and then mix it together then? Is that?
Well, Paul and I both do that.
Yeah, and then there's like just scheduling things all the time. So like Pete has a studio at his house, and so he would do vocals, and a lot of times it would be so fast you could say actually could just go back and try a different thing on this take or here and there, and actually worked like really well. So
That's great.
Yeah. And then Brett, there's a couple songs that Brett did completely in his studio, and we just kind of tossed it around until we tracked everything we needed to track. So
I mean, I don't think I heard the final. Instrumentation of some of these songs until like we were proving masters.
Oh my God.
You know what I mean? Because we were just we were moving so quick. It was just like while one night I'm doing vocals, the same time Brett's cutting guitars and Nike is recording violins. Like literally everybody was working, and I think it came together very, very quickly. And these guys assembled everything, and so it was. We've never done a record like that before. I think the proof of concept that it actually worked was like, I think that will be how we do things kind of moving forward. Maybe we have a lot more time in one room together because we like that. Because that's when the songs kind of they get to stretch a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just sounds like you were just working so hard on it. By the time you got a chance to look up, it was already done, right? Yeah,
It had to be. It had to be.
That's great.
But that's the way we work best. I think if we set a firm date, and I think we booked a release party before we had recorded one note.
Oh my God.
So it was like, well, that's the drop dead date. You know what I mean? So we had no time to kind of indulge ourselves in any sort of fancy. So
yeah, it was just go to work, get it done, meet the date. Yeah, no, I get that. That's great. I love that. I think it drives a lot of hard work and can bring great products from it.
and we're very lucky. Look, we have two great producers in our band that
Yeah.
continue to do that on for themselves as well as for other bands, and so that certainly sped the process up.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I don't want to keep you guys here too long. I'd like to ask, what advice would you give to any new or aspiring musician today, given your experience?
it's kind of a lot of the same stuff that we always talk about when we're working with other people. Is you just kind of have to learn what you're best at. And then you kind of have to repeat that and look at your heroes and keep working on your thing until you can kind of get that the best you can. The problem with music is that it's such a team sport,
Yeah.
I mean, you need like good songs, a good vibe in the band. If there's something undeniable and there's still friction in the band, that still works because that, all that tension.
Yeah.
But it's easier in the long haul to just, at least have something that, people can walk in the same room.
Yeah.
But so.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have to decide if your band or you as an artist, you have to decide if you feel like you have the goods, You know, because if you can work as hard as you want, if you don't really have, you know, something that'll connect to people, you know. But if you do, then it's just burn the boats and go play.
Yeah.
Really.
Just get out there and do it.
Do it. Yeah, just don't give yourself an option if you want to do it for a living.
Yeah. That's great.
And I think, like, you know, you just concentrate on being, you know, on being really good, you know, and like, I mean, I know that sounds so silly, but like, no one can take that away from you.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, you can manipulate whatever you want in the studio, but if you can sit down and play a song with just yourself and a guitar or yourself and a piano, it's like, you know, that is a skill that will never go away.
Yes.
You know, regardless of what the trends are, how music is delivered.
I think that's something that will always stand out to people, no matter how far technology evolves and the music industry as a whole, you know, grows over the years. Like you said right there, just sitting down with a piano or guitar, I think that is one of the biggest things. That's great. Well, guys, thank you so much for your time, for coming on
Thank
here.
you.
We really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're really looking forward to
Really
watching
great.
you guys get out there and perform. Anything else you guys would like to add or anything before we wrap up? Or
I mean, you know, thanks for supporting local music. I mean, it's like, you know, it is certainly a lot of the clubs that we played in the past are no longer there. It's like, so it's harder for people to get out. You know, yes, you're good at what you do, but it's harder to go find places to play. So thanks for all the support.
Of course.
Everybody.
doing everything we can.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Cheers.